Hello, BookTube. We're going to continue with my collection of the New York Review of Books. I have a full my camera phone is fully charged. So let's continue. The first one I actually bought at a thrift store. So these New York Review of Books are hard to find anywhere. So I found this at a thrift store. This is the Tration Runner. It is a story of the German occupation by George Psychonodakis. Is translated by Patrick Lefevre. George Psychodakis was from Crete, of course, and he was a shepherd. He was 21 years old. He was a shepherd, and he heard, and saw German planes heading towards him in May of 1941. They came closer and closer, and more appeared, and the German parachuters dropped from the sky. So on the cover here, you have a picture right up here of the parachute and a mark down here on the island of Crete. There were already British troops on the island of Crete, but Winston Churchill decided to abandon Crete for the Nazis. However, George Psychodakis and his fellow Cretans resisted the Germans' occupation, and they fought the Germans. George Psychodakis became what the title is, a Tration Runner, which is a person who goes from one end of the island to another end of the island, about 50 miles, with a backpack on his back, delivering goods to the people who are resisting the Nazis. So it's a very, very good book, very keynote of history in World War II that Steve Donahue talks about. The next one is, I never heard of this gentleman before. He's Max Beerbohm. This is the Prince of Minor Writers, the selected essays of Max Beerbohm. He was a drama critic for the London paper that set the review. So in about 1890 to 1910, Virginia Woolf on the back page said he was the Prince of Essayists. I'm not sure about that. I haven't read anything about Virginia Woolf, so I don't know if she's telling the truth or not. This next one is the New York Stories of Edith Wharton, a collection of short stories that she wrote. I never read any of Edith Wharton's novels. The short stories are very good in here. Some are very excellent. Let me check. Miss Manstey's View is a good article. There's one in here that explains a gentleman lost his business and he owed creditors a lot of money. So, but he still goes to a high society event, and the people in the high society, people that are gathered in that event, kind of distance themselves away from this guy because they want to comfort him, but they can't, because as Edith Wharton says, society has its standards, and if society didn't have standards, it wouldn't be a society. The New York Stories of Edith Wharton. The next 6 books I bought back in November. My birthday was on the 20th of November, and the New York Review of Books sent me an email saying that there's 2 gift sets they had. One was for $80 and you bought 8 books. The other one's $60 and you bought 6 books. And you got 6 books, excuse me. And so I bought these 6 for myself for a birthday present. The first one is the pages from the Goncourt journals by Edmond and Jules de Goncourt. And they're French And it says back here that the journals of the brothers Edmond and Julius de Goncourt is a masterpiece of 19th century French literature. It's a work that is rich as the color, variety, and casual perfection bears comparison with the great painters of their friends. They visited slums, brothels, balls, department stores, imperial receptions, argued over art, politics, and trade, and merciless gossip with and about Hugo, Flaubert, Rodin, and many others appear in this collection. The next one is Memoirs from Beyond the Grave, 1768 to 1800, Francois René de Chateaubriand. This is the introduction by Anna Moleskine. It's a lovely cover on there. This is a autobiography, and Francois René de Chateaubriand has drawn the admiration of Flaubert, again, Proust, and he looks at his youth and recalls games on the beaches of Santa Malos, wandering in the woods near his father's castle in Cambronne, hunting with King Louis XVI at Versailles, witnesses the first heads carried on pikes through the streets of Paris, meeting with George Washington in Philadelphia. The volume ends with Chateaubriand returned to France after 7 years of exile in England. This next one is the Notebooks of Joseph Joubert, translated and introduction by Paul Auster. And it's the French luminary Joseph Joubert, a great explorer of the mind's open spaces. And it just goes chronologically from 1783 all the way to 1824, and just sometimes they're just real small. It's what he wrote down in his journal, and others are pretty long. The time I once lost in pleasure, I'm now losing suffering. And then you want to shake up the world, not make it wiser. And it's just short things. God, all other beings are distinguished by their shadow, but he is distinguished by his light. So that's the Notebooks of Joseph Joubert. This next one is the Waste Book by Georges Christophe Lichtenberg, translated and introduction by R.J. Hollendale. And he was a German scientist, man of letters. Georges Christophe Lichtenberg was an 18th century polymath, experimental physicist, and astronomer, mathematician. He collected his work in what he called the Waste Books. Read you a little bit further. He deflates the pretensions of learning society, examines a range of philosophical questions, and tracks his own thoughts. He's been great with this book. Has been greatly admired by writers different as Tolstoy, Einstein, and Nietzsche. This book was a significant inspiration for his radical work in philosophy. This next book is The Grey Book by Joseph Pla. I guess that's how you pronounce P-L-A. Introduction by Valentin Puig. I like the cover. And one of the most colorful and useful works in modern literature, in 1918. When Pla was in Barcelona studying law, the Spanish flu broke out. So this talks about his journal. It's a journal, and it talks about his family, local characters, visits to museum, quips, quarrels, ambitions, admirers, and friends. And he keeps up the scrutinized life in the big city. and he's been called one of the best Catalan writers. This last one is the journal 1837 to 1861 of Henry David Thoreau. This is, it says back here on the back, is his life work, the daily practice of writing that occupied his daily walks, the workshop where he developed his books, an essay, and a project in his own right, one of the most extensive explorations ever made, everyday environment, evolving seasons, and changing self. So this is a one-volume edition of Thoreau's journal ever published. It's the first to capture the scope, writings, and variety of the work as a whole. So it goes on from, here's one from September the 19th, 1850. The trees on the bank of the river have white furrows worn about them, marking the height of the fresh nets of what levels the water has stood. Water so much more fine, sensitive an element than earth. A single boatman passing up or down unavoidably shakes the whole of the wide river and disrupts its every reflection. The air is an element which our voices shake still further than our oars the water. My companion said he would drink when the boat got under the bridge, because the water would be cooler in the shade, though the stream quickly passes through the piers from shade to sun again. It's something beautiful, the act of drinking, the stooping to imbibe some of the widespread element in obedience to instinct without whim. We do not so simply drink in other influences. It is pleasant to have been to a place by the way a river went. The forms of the trees and groves change with each stroke of the oar. That's Henry David Thoreau. And I thank you for watching my channel. Thank you for the comments. Thank you for the subscribers. And y'all have a good day.